Okay, so if you're watching this video, you might be looking for a hint on how you might start a snowflake. Well, I'm going to go through a quick demo for you, and maybe this will be enough to get you started. I'm going to go ahead and start a new sketch, and I'm going to kind of show you two different ways to start it out. So for the first way, I'm just going to kind of start off with a circle, and I'm going to go ahead and put that 2.9 dimension on that I have to stay within. Now as I draw everything, I can proportionally draw it inside there and make sure I don't go outside that constraint. I would like to go ahead and turn that into a construction line because it's not really part of my shape. It's just there as a boundary to make sure that I draw everything inside it. So for this first method, I'm just going to try to draw the snowflake myself. And the question is, how do I start off a snowflake? I'm going to try to go ahead and draw this snowflake that you see here. So how am I going to start that out? Well, what I want to think about is the tools that Onshape has for me. Things like mirror pattern and circular pattern and linear pattern. As I take a look, there really is a pattern that's being produced here. What I want you to think about is how you may have made snowflakes a long time ago with just a piece of paper. Well, let's take a look. Maybe a long time ago, you started out with a square piece of paper, and then you started folding it in a whole bunch of different ways, and then take a pair of scissors to it, and you started cutting it up. And then when I start unfolding it, it created your snowflake for you. Well, hopefully what you're looking at here is there really is a pattern. This would be extremely difficult for me to draw and get it all to be exactly the same. But this is an array. If I really take a look, I'm the same on both sides. And not only that, I'm really all the same off of just kind of this corner here. Once I've got this corner developed, then that's the same over here, this one's the same across here, and so on. So I really only have kind of a small section here that's unique. Everything else is a pattern. So there's really two main patterns I want to look at, mirror and circular. For the snowflake that you see here, I want to kind of show you how mirror and circular pattern would come into play. So the first thing I want to do is look at what is the one unique piece that I have here. And it's really just this little segment here. So it's kind of something like, that. That's really it. This is considered to be my line of symmetry. This is the one edge that I'm going to mirror that over. So really it would be something kind of like that. That's it. That really is that one leg. So all that was really unique was this one piece. Once I've got that one piece done, I can mirror that over to create the rest of it. The really cool part is then I'm looking at a circular pattern. I'm looking at this specific shape that's now been mirrored as an array or an equal pattern all the way around. And Onshape has the ability to do both of those. Both tools, mirror and circular pattern, work in 3D and 2D. Now for this example, I'm going to stay in 2D. You have separate videos for each one of those that will go into a lot more detail of how to use mirror and circular pattern. So let's hop back over to Onshape. So I'm going to try to reproduce what I just saw a minute ago. So I'm going to come up here and come over, then come down, out, over, and then back down again. I can go ahead and touch this edge. I just can't go outside it. So if you want to do something like a coincident, I could pick this corner and that circle. Okay, great. So how does that mirror tool work just like the example I showed you a minute ago? What's up here? I've got mirror. It wants me to select that line of symmetry, that one piece that's in the middle, and it's that. It then wants me to go ahead and select the entities to be mirrored, and I can go around and click on them one at a time, but I can also just go ahead and drag a window around them. And done. That's created it. Now proportionately, I've got a much bigger or thicker section in the middle than I really wanted. Well, that's the awesome part about mirror. So as I start adjusting one side, it'll start adjusting both sides. If I use something like the vertical constraint on these 2 points, then whatever happens to one side happens to the other side. So that is really the cool part of mirror. It's not just saving me time of drawing it, it's making it an exact mirrored copy of it over to the other side. Okay, great, so that's that part. How do I get that circular pattern or the circular array? It's up here. Usually it's underneath linear pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and click on circular pattern. I'm going to highlight the shapes that I want to circular pattern, and it's automatically going to make the center point of it the center point or the origin of this drawing. Yes, I can change that, but you can see that in the individual video. All right, I also have a number somewhere that will allow me to change the quantity. So right now I've got that 3x. So I'm going to change that to 6. And I can see there that I've got a lot of things that are overlapping. Well, it's the same thing as it was for mirror. I'm going to go ahead and accept that. And now I can make changes to 1. And as I make changes to 1, it's making changes to all of them. And that's pretty cool. So now whatever I do to the mirror, it's doing to each one of the individual patterns. And now I can go ahead and extrude that. So both mirror pattern and circular pattern work in the 2D environment and the 3D environment. You just kind of have to see how they play out for you. So I said I was going to do this 2 different ways. So this is one way where I'm just kind of taking the idea and drawing it out myself. I have the option to actually put that picture directly in Onshape and I can trace it. You have a separate video on that as well. So I'm only going to do it one of the 2 ways that that video shows. So for this example, what I'm going to do is come up here, and it usually says Insert DXF. I'm going to change that to Insert Image. As soon as I go to Insert Image, I'll have nothing available. And again, you have an entire video on just this step. I'm going to come down here to Import Image. I'm going to find the image wherever I've got it stored. Once it's uploaded, then it'll be available for me to drop in. The problem is when I drag this rectangle, I have no idea how big I'm drawing it, and it needs to be that 2.9. So that's okay. I'm just going to let go of the image, and I'm going to draw my circle inside that. So I'm just going to pick where I think about the middle is, and then come outside. And that's great. But what good did that do me? Because I have no idea how big that circle is either. But remember, in Onshape, if you have no dimensions on anything, when you put the first dimension on, it will proportionately scale everything to match that one. So I'll put on my dimension of 2.9. And as soon as I do, it'll stretch the photo until it matches that up. So that's why I didn't put any dimensions on to begin with. I put the picture on, drew the circle, put the dimension on, and let the picture match the circle. And then I will go ahead and drag this stuff up to the origin, because I know my circular pattern is going to want to jump to there anyways, and I don't feel like changing it. Now I can go ahead and trace. I could use it for just proportions, or I could use it to go ahead and draw up exactly what I wanted it to be this time. Instead of just kind of eyeballing it and taking a darn good guess, I can make it exactly what I want. So that really is the hard part. The hard part is you proportionally trying to figure out what it is that you're going to draw that's either going to be part of the mirror or part of the circular pattern. I should be able to just go ahead and click on the sketch over there, but I may have too many independent regions. So you may want to do some trimming on the original one before you mirror it and before you circular pattern it so that you don't have so many individual shapes. And that's all fine and everything, but I really forgot one of the things that I was supposed to do. I was supposed to make sure that I had a 1/4-inch hole that we could put a ribbon in. And so if I go ahead and do that now, I'm just going to go ahead and draw a circle. I may have not designed that in a way that I've got a big enough area, and I am pretty lucky that I got a decent area up here, but that really is getting pretty thin from side to side if this is the area that this is going to get hung by. So I might be able to get that to work. And if not, I can go ahead and maybe add a section to it. The problem there is now I'm outside of my 2.9. Well, that's really not that big a deal. I should be able to come back into here and change that 2.9 to something like 2.8. Everything should kind of scale down. How about 2.7? Now that I'm scaled down, then it really wouldn't be that big a deal if I actually go outside, because the 2.9 is just my limits. I can't be bigger than that. So now I could go ahead and extrude. Maybe that's going to be a ring that's going to go around the outside. I'm going to turn that sketch back on so that it's shared, and then I can go ahead and reuse that sketch for remove. I can then go ahead with the fillet tool and go around and fillet things. And again, circular pattern lives in the 3D environment as well as mirror. You've got videos separately for that. So the last thing I want to do is actually make my working drawing so that I can prove that I stay within that 2.9 by 2.9. I want to prove that I extruded this 0.118, and I want to prove that I've got my 1/4 inch hole. So you've got an entire video on this as well. So I'm going to make my drawing. I'll go ahead and insert my part. I want to change the scale to 1:1. Put on a side view as well. The front view will show my height and width. The side view will show my depth. And then I'm going to go ahead and project my front view. So projected view up here to do my isometric. And then I'm going to go ahead and throw on my dimensions. So I need one that will tell me my height. That went ahead and jumped to center points. That's okay. I'll fix that here in a minute. And then I think this is the part that it sticks out the most. Okay, and again, I said I was going to adjust those. So I can just grab that dimension and I can pull it up to that radius. So I've got my width. I've got my height. I need to prove that I've done the depth correctly. And then the last one, I need to prove that I have an area that's at least 0.25 that we can put the ribbon through. And that's it. So now I have all the evidence that this snowflake meets the criteria that it was supposed to. All right, so hopefully that's enough information to help you get started with yours.